Hey, I'm Brian Young. Thank you for being here. Welcome back to High Impact Flicks. Hey guys, before we get into today's video, I want to give a real quick shout out to today's sponsor, Virtual Shield VPN. And the reason I promote it, guys, is because I use it every single day and I know that it works, and I've proven it in videos in the past. If you use the link in the description, you're going to get 50% off, and that's going to help you protect your identity, your activity, and your location anytime you're surfing on the net. That link is in the description below. I want to show you this. I don't like Jeffries. I'm not in the cult of personality with Jordan B. Peterson, but I thought this was an interesting 42-second exchange between them where Jeffries tries to show Jordan Peterson his flawed logic with regard to forcing business owners to do something that they don't want to do. And I want to bounce this off to you because in the spirit of individual liberties, and I understand dangerous freedom is more uncomfortable than peaceful slavery. We all know that. But what would you rather have? That dangerous freedom or that peaceful, comforting, soothing slavery? Listen to what Jeffries says as he interacts with Jordan Peterson.
Making people bake a cake for a gay wedding.
Making them do it?
Yeah.
I don't think that's a very good idea.
But here.
Okay. So making a business owner produce a good or perform a service for somebody that they don't want to serve. Is that the role of government? Is that the world we want to live in, where you are a private business owner of your own business? Are you not free to discriminate? Yes or no? Even though you're working in the public sphere, even though you may have a social security number, even though you signed on as, hey, you're here to serve the public, are you not, as a business owner, free to do whatever you want to with your own business, up to and including discriminating against people? Yes or no?
Here's the argument. So should they be able to deny making a cake for a black couple if they don't like black people?
Allowed to? Probably. That doesn't mean it's right.
Okay, so then we have the civil...
And it is. It's a garbage thing to do, okay? It's a garbage thing to do to say, hey, you know what? I know you and your family are white, but we want you to know up front, we don't serve white people here. What would your response be if somebody actually said that? I mean, you would think, that's pretty cruddy. We're hungry. There's no other restaurant around for miles and miles. We've been on the road for hours and hours, and it's pretty cruddy, but you know what? It's your own business. Are we going to be so thin-skinned? Are we going to wallow in our victimhood and run to the authorities and make them serve us because we're hungry? Are we going to make them not discriminate against us? Do we really want the state, the government, to get involved in, some disagreement you might have with another business owner? Is that business owner not within his own personal individual freedoms? And guys, granted, that's not a good business move to choose who you're not going to serve. Not a good business move. But aren't you free to do it? I'm not for that kind of discrimination. I think it's being a cruddy human being. It's not right. But what's doubly not right is getting the guns of government involved in pointing them in people's faces and making them do something that they want to do. You cannot legislate morality. You can't force morality to come into being through violence. Or can you? You tell me.
Rights movement,
Yep.
where they said black people, you had to serve them in your restaurants and
Yep.
stuff like that, and it did work, and it did make our society better, but would
Yep.
you argue that that still wasn't right?
No, that was right.
Why is that different to now if you didn't want to make a cake for black people?
And by the way, just to go back to the Colorado incident, I don't have the article pulled up here, but it's not that the gay couple walked through the door and they go, we don't serve gay people here. It was more specific to, no, we're not going to make you that kind of cake. We're not going to perform that service for you and provide that product for you. It wasn't, hey, you're gay, get out of here. You can't buy anything from us. That's not what it was like. And there is a difference. But even if there wasn't a difference, even if it was the same thing, it wasn't. But even if it was the same thing, can't they say, hey, that's against our religion? Don't they have the freedom to do that? And if they don't have the freedom to do that, can we actually call this the land of the free and the home of the brave? So listen to Jeffries ply him again about this He talks about the success of the civil rights movement. Was it successful, or did it just create a new class of slaves under the Federal Reserve banking system? Did it seek to, did this whole Federal Reserve thing, was there's this huge unseen trade-off, and when I say unseen, I mean from the general public, that you actually became a labor and wage slave for the political elite, for the banking elite, for the corporate oligarchs. Good. That's a question.
Okay, so then we had the civil rights movement, where they said black people, you had to serve them in your restaurants and stuff like that, and it did work, and it did make our society better. But
what does that mean? It did work, and it did make our society better. Is he saying that government intervention in the affairs of mankind makes society better? And if so, how did it make things better? Oh, well, and by the way, I am not for that segregation stuff, but if you have businesses that continue to go along these lines when we were progressing in the opposite direction anyway, then just have those discriminatory, racist, white supremacist shops closed down, because the free market will eventually not tolerate it at all. But when you start trying to legislate morality and you do it through the violence and coercion and brutality of the state at the barrel of a government gun, we got a serious problem here. So this is what Jeffries saying. He's saying the violence and the brutality and the evil of the state brought about a societal good. Did it really? Explain to me how violence and forcing legislation down people's throat that don't want it is bringing about a societal good.
Argue that still wasn't right.
No, that was right.
Why is that different to now if you didn't want to make a cake for black people?
Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not different.
Yeah.
Maybe I was wrong about that.
Making people.
Now I got to hand it to Jordan Peterson, because he knows he's being videotaped. He knows that Jim Jeffries just created a viral moment by backing Jordan Peterson into a corner where Jordan Peterson actually admits, you know what, maybe I was thinking wrongly about that. How can you fault a guy for going, you know what? Wow, you caused me to think about something here. Maybe I haven't been right about this. How is that something that should be condemned? Let's say he does have a change of heart. Let's say he is thinking, I'm not saying he is or isn't, but let's say he is thinking about something the wrong way, or he believes he's thinking about something the wrong way. And then an examiner on the left side, because I think Jim Jeffries is left and he's pro the left paradigm and pro government and pro gun violence under the, gun control and all these other things that the leftists are for. How do you condemn a guy who goes, you know what? Right here, right now, I'm going to do an about face because you're actually causing me to think about something that I haven't really thought about from this perspective. But back to the main point. Is it right for government functionaries who use the violence of the state to force people to do something that they don't want to do? Does that action, that violent, brutal action of the state, bring about societal good? Could it possibly bring about seeming societal good, when it actually does the exact opposite and makes things go 10 steps backward, but it's a little bit more undetectable. Maybe now it's a little bit more palatable to the masses. It's just a question. Is a business truly free if they're not free to discriminate? If they're not free to be a-holes? And I consider that being an a-hole if you're going to deny somebody service because they're disabled, or because they're the wrong color, or because they talk funny, or they're too tall, or they're too fat. What if all of a sudden McDonald's goes, you know what? We cannot continue to serve people who are morbidly obese. Don't they have the right to do that? Oh, there'd be an uprising, man. What if they go, no, we're sticking to our guns. We cannot continue to contribute to the demise of the health of American people. So we're not going to serve you. We're definitely not supersizing it. What if that's all they said? If you're what we consider morbidly obese, and look, we have this fine chart to show you what we think morbidly obese is, we're not supersizing it. Not going to do that anymore. We're not going to contribute to your deteriorating health. What if they said that? Aren't there? Isn't McDonald's McDonald's is different because it's a corporation. You can't become a corporation without government involvement. In other words, the reason you are a corporation is because the government is on your side and is subsidizing you or helping you out, or there's lobbyists in Congress to help you in some way. But when we're talking about a private business that has no subsidies, no financial help or kickbacks from government, when a private business says, hey, we're not supersizing that for the sake of your health, for goodness sake. Can't you see you're 350 pounds? Or in the case of Oklahoma, if she ain't 280, she ain't a lady. If you're 280 and you're a lady, or you call yourself a lady, we're not supersizing it. We only provide our morbidly obese customers with salads. That's it. And no dressing. You don't get dressing with that. Aren't they free to do that? Yeah, freedom is very dangerous. People can be reckless with their freedom, but who can possibly be more reckless than Congress? How can you ever get in 29 or 30 trillion dollars worth of debt, not counting unfunded liabilities? When you count unfunded liabilities, it shoots to the moon, guys. But how can you possibly go in $30 trillion worth of debt without government? You can't. It's not possible. That number is unfathomable. We've talked about this before, but if you earned $1 for every second that you were alive, you're going to earn $86,400 a day, or about $31.5 million a year. How long would you have to live before you collected your first $1 trillion? You don't collect your first $1 trillion making $1 for every second they're alive until your 31,709th day on this earth. Year. You have to live 31,709 years to collect your first $1 trillion if you made $1 every second. That's how ungraspable, unfathomable, humongous, enormous 1 trillion is. And we're $30 trillion in debt, not counting the unfunded liabilities of Social Security and Medicare. I'm speechless. Without government, how could we be $30 trillion in debt? Those are the questions we should be asking. Without government, how could we have such big potholes in our street? Without government, how could we have such a failed education system? How much does the Department of Education cost us every year? How about the Department of Energy? How about all these departments that are just wasting our money? How about the Department of Homeland Security, which is nothing more, nothing less than security theater? Because according to TSA and federal red team tests, over 96% of guns and bombs are smuggled onto departing flights through the blue shirts of the TSA. Do you feel safer yet? 95% of federal red team test guns and bombs make their way onto your departing flight, and you thought you were secure. That's security theater. That's all it is the security theater. It's just a smokescreen to bleed more money from the American tax cattle under the Patriot Act. With all the crazy stated plans of the Great Reset, the currency reset, and even the food reset, it's not a matter of if the store shelves are going to clear and there's a lack of food. The question is when. You need to get long-term storable food. It doesn't matter if it's from me or you just go to the store and you buy food. Just grab dry, storable food while you can. If you want to get it from me, you're going to support the channel and you're going to help yourself out because my link has a discount code embedded within it. You can check that out in the description below.